world? What up, world? What up, world? It's your boy Tommy D coming back at you from the top of my house. You know where? Just below the roof in my attic. Whew. I tell you, man, coming up the 2 flights of stairs. You know what? Maybe I'm getting old. Maybe 45 is a little too old to be coming all the way up to the attic. I remember saying, last year and the year before, hey, I'm going to be coming up the stairs to the attic forever, man, with a cane and a walker. I don't know. Maybe I got to start doing the show on the first or second floor of this house every single Friday morning on Philanthropy and Focus. That's the name of the program. I bring to you another leader of an important nonprofit organization. Doing what, Tommy D? Well, these organizations are changing the world. Am I talking to myself? It sounded like it for a second. Changing the world on the front lines, bringing the services, bringing the support, bringing the relationships, bringing the connections that their constituents need. And that's what Philanthropy and Focus is all about. So before I even go into my rant about a lot of things, I want to say hello to my friend Mark Cox. Mark Cox, CEO, Big Brothers, Big Sisters of Long Island. Sir, how are you? Good morning.
Good. Thanks. Thanks for having me, Tommy. All's going well.
Yeah.
It's been a couple tough days with the smoke coming in from Canada, but overall, knock on wood, all is going well here at the organization.
No kidding. All right, we're going to dive into all that stuff too, but talk about that smoke, gang. If you're not, if you're listening to this somewhere else, we had here in New York, we had this smoke coming down from these tragic wildfires, up in Canada. I tell you, I was at Citi Field the other day for the Queen's Chamber of Commerce trade show, and I got there early, 10:30 in the morning. Sun was shining, clear skies, and I left there around 3:30 in the afternoon, and it was like very, very strange. Like it was darkness and it was hazy, and the sun was like orange coming through the cloud. Very, very, very it was unusual. I never experienced it. And I was saying to Mark earlier, kind of when we were prepping for the show, I might have lost my voice a little bit, either from the smoke or because I never stop talking. Well, I mean, I do, but like most of the time I'm blah, 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 blah. And a lot of good information comes out. But on this show, it's not always about me talking. It's about my friends talking. It's about them talking about their organizations. And I like to say, we like to help these nonprofit leaders tell their story and amplify their message. I must make a couple of shout outs. Shout out to my buddy Ken Serini and Kelly Ann Serini, because they invited me to Variety Children's Learning Center Casino Night. Maybe that's why I don't have a voice today. I was at the casino night last night. And then also, ran into my friend, the CEO over there, Janet Koch. So great to see Janet as well. And then on the way home, I had this idea, and I texted my friend Linda Beagle Schulman from the Scott J. Beagle Memorial Fund. And I was like, I have this idea, I have this connection I want to make for you. And I sent her a text, and I'm thinking of her right now because I got the Run for Beagle golf shirt on. So if you are watching on Facebook, Run for Beagle, tragically, Linda's son was murdered in Parkland shooting, and we need to address these school shootings. We need to have the conversation. We're not going to do that on the show today, but we need to talk about it. But Carna Vegas is this Tuesday night here in Long Island, and that is their fundraiser for Scott J. Beagle Memorial Fund, June 13th, this coming Tuesday. And on the same night, I'm actually doing double duty that night in Westbury and Long Island, because the same night is PFY's. It's an organization that we're doing some work with. It is their gala, which is a drag bingo gala. So, Mark, I have an interesting Tuesday night, just to say the least. So follow your boy, everybody, TommyD.NYC on Instagram, and Tommy Demisa, DIMISA, kind of everywhere else. Philanthropy and Focus, PHOCUS. All right, look, that's a lot of information I'm dropping out there. I really want to get into this. Mark, we met a bunch of years ago, and we met actually through the Long Island Imagine Awards when you were a semifinalist in the Leadership Excellence category. And I will tell you all, gang, I love serving on the committee for the Long Island Imagine Awards and also the New York City Imagine Awards. And one of my favorite parts is once we get through the initial application round is we get to do one-on-one interviews with these organizations, depending on the category that they're in. So I'm going to be doing 4 interviews in the next few weeks for the New York City Imagine Awards. And apparently, I like talking, right? But I also like listening. I love to listen and learn. And that's my favorite part of the Imagine Awards process is I get to, and I'll try to do all 4 of mine in person, even though we've gotten into this virtual world. But I want to go out on site. I want to meet the people. I want to see, because what that part of the process is, and I think this is informative for people, is that we get to do the write-up to supplement the original application. So we get to see things that, the organization may not have shared in their application. We get to really share those good stories. So I'll tell you, I'm like an advocate. I'm like a kind of like an animal for my organizations. And I'm like, I want this one. So I'm writing it. Shout out to Chaminade class of 96, Chaminade High School. Maybe they taught me how to write. Maybe that was part of the whole thing. So, all right, without any further ado, or I will actually attempt to have no further ado, Mark Cox. Mark, I want to just go back for a minute, because when we first met, I remember coming to your office, and I want to just read some stats here. Bachelor's of Business Administration from Hofstra University in marketing, later a master's in counseling from Hofstra University. But please, sir, if you will, you are no slouch on the football field, my friend. Can we talk about that, and then we'll get into career and stuff like that?
Yeah, well, I don't normally talk much about that. Most people don't even know that I played. Yeah, I was very fortunate. I went to Hofstra University, played 4 years of football and lacrosse. Went there to play football, was not a lacrosse player, kind of just tried out for the team, had never played it before. Very different than, now. There's no way you could ever do that now.
You walk on, you're not going to show up at Hofstra having never picked up a stick.
No,
no.
no. And I was very fortunate. I had a great career. They had a system. I was a running back. They had a system that fit me perfectly, caught a lot of passes, return kicked, return punts, punted. I did a lot of stuff halfway good. I don't know if I was great at anything, but it was fun. And honestly, that led me to my first, basically my first career, which was working at Hofstra University in college athletics. Started out just running some events for the alumni office at the university, and then quickly was able to convince some key leadership staff there that, I really belonged under athletics and doing fundraising. I say a lot of times, with when it comes to fundraising, it's really like sales. You have to be passionate and you have to love what you're selling. If you're not, it's going to come through after a short amount of time, and it won't be sincere. And so for me, it was almost like a love affair working for Hofstra University for 13 years. As I ended up leaving there as the associate director of athletics for external affairs, which really had a lot of responsibilities, a lot of exposure to different things. But I think my main focus was always fundraising. And it was easy for me. I didn't have to, pretend to be anything that I wasn't. I was selling, a athletic, department that I was from and was part of. So it was great. And, fast forward after the 13 years there, it's like any job. You at some point you just gotta, you get into a routine, and then especially I think for me, the biggest factor that made me start even paying attention to other opportunities was my kids. Once my kids got a certain age and started getting involved in activities, the life of college athletics, it's fun, but you work every weekend, you work a lot of nights, and truly you miss out on your kids' experiences. And I knew I didn't want to do that. I wanted to make sure I was there for all of that, and was very fortunate. Had one of our great donors at Hofstra approach me. There was an opportunity at Big Brothers Big Sisters of Long Island. Their former chief development officer actually tragically passed away from cancer on very short notice. And they were looking for somebody for probably about 9 months, and they hadn't found the right person. And, like anything, when you first approach and about an opportunity, if you've been somewhere a long time, it's scary. You don't want to leave. And I said, you know what, I'm going to do some research on this organization. And I felt it was a great fit based on my upbringing.
Yeah. Well, I want to hear about the upbringing piece too, but it's interesting because I will share, when you talk about that development, we talk about it when I say development in our world, in nonprofit world, fundraising, that type of development, relationship development, I think it is sales. I mean, I think, and if you're not quote unquote sold out to the mission and like all in, well, then it's canned, it's fake, it's not real. I'm not saying that no one can do it. You can get behind something and raise some funds, but it's like you said, you can see through that. People understand the difference, that when you are all in on the mission, I mean, it's because you kind of, you sweat and you bleed it. It's what it is. It's it becomes ingrained in the personality. So, and I hear the thing, in the last, I mean, as we sit here, it's, June of 2023. And I was saying to somebody the other day, it's kind of crazy how what we've gone through the last 3 years is even that we even went through that COVID. I'm talking about everybody in case you guys missed it, but like what we went through. But I'll tell you what that did personally for me as a sales guy who was on the road a lot, never overnight, but I was gone all day and into the evenings most nights. Rejiggered my own perspective on things, Mark. So, as you say, career transition and going from a place where you were not going to be around for the kids, I learned that. And there were things that went on here in this home that, to be honest with you, I didn't know they went on for years because I wasn't involved from 7 a.m. till 8 p.m. I didn't really know what a lot of that stuff was. I mean, I knew technically what was going on, but I wasn't in conversations about it. And I think that's been a real, blessing for me. My world has been shifted in a lot of ways, and so I appreciate, you're mentioning that. So as you made that transition from, again, scary for sure. Anywhere we're comfortable is like, that's what it's what the word means, comfortable. Like we have comfort there. So anything else is in the unknown, which is exciting, but at the same time, excitement, sometimes scary too. So we'll go to break in a second or two, but I want to just kind of set it up for when we come back. You're at this transition point. It's a connection, it's a relationship like anything else that brings you this opportunity. You talk to me about the research you did before you made the big jump, because I want to understand what that looked like.
Yeah. Do you want to do that before the break?
Yeah, hit me a little bit and then we'll move after that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I like anything, I got approached about the potential opportunity, and for me, fundraising, I didn't have to, research that. That's what I've been doing my entire career at Hofstra. So it was more about the mission and just making sure that it was something that I truly believed in. And again, we're a nationally known, organization, Big Brothers Big Sisters. So most people have a general idea of what it is. But as I started doing some research, and I won't go much into my upbringing, but I came from a divorced family. I had my mom, working many jobs and just not really involved in my life or my brother's life. And it was, sports is kind of what kept me occupied most of the time. And I happened to, luckily I was pretty good at sports, and I had so many mentors through sports that pretty much kept me out of trouble. And probably, and I say this all the time, probably selfishly to make sure I was eligible and able to play. But if it wasn't for, I look back, and if it wasn't for those individuals, I wouldn't be the person I am today. And as I'm doing the research on Big Brothers Big Sisters, I mean, that's what the mission is.
Yeah.
It's taking these children that are coming from difficult situations and pairing them with a adult role model who can fill that void and give them some guidance and share some wisdom with them on life. And for me, the I had several coaches, athletic director. They really did that for me. And then as I got into my college career, I had several key administration individuals at Hofstra that were big supporters of football that did that for me. And I just, after researching and thinking about it a lot, I just said, you know what, this is right up my alley, and I think I could be passionate about it. So I made the jump, so to say, interviewed, and was very fortunate. They chose me, and I became the chief development officer. I think it was in January of 2008.
January of 2008. So we are going to sneak away for a quick break, but January 2008, you come in as development. I love him. We're leaving him on a cliffhanger, Mark. He becomes a development officer, but now he's the CEO, guys. And you have to come back because I'm going to tell you the rest of the story. All right. So I will tell you more when we come back. Mark will tell us all more when we come back. The show is Philanthropy and Focus. This week, I'm featuring CEO Mark Cox from Big Brothers Big Sisters of Long Island, who really was able to align his own challenges and upbringing and into the path of paying it forward and bringing it back. I mean, maybe I'm summarizing a little bit there, but that's what I'm hearing from Mark, is like he was able to align these two pieces. And we're going to talk more about it. We come back to show's Philanthropy and Focus. Every week we're here on a Friday morning, 10 a.m. Right back.
Hey everybody, it's Tommy D, the nonprofit sector connector, coming at you from my attic. Each week here on talkradio.nyc, I host the program Philanthropy and Focus. Nonprofits impact us each and every day, and it's my focus to help them amplify their message and tell their story. Listen each week at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time until 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on talkradio.nyc.
Are you on edge? Hey, we live in challenging, edgy times, so let's lean in. I'm Sandra Bargman, the host of The Edge of Every Day, which airs each Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time on talkradio.nyc. Tune in live with me and my friends and colleagues as we share stories and perspectives about pushing boundaries and exploring our rough edges. That's The Edge of Every Day on Mondays at 7 p.m. Eastern Time on talkradio.nyc.
Are you a conscious co-creator? Are you on a quest to raise your vibration and your consciousness? I'm Sam Leibowitz, your conscious consultant, and on my show, The Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity, we will touch upon all these topics and more. Listen live at our new time on Thursdays at 12 noon Eastern Time. That's The Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity, Thursdays, 12 noon on talkradio.nyc.
You're listening to Talk Radio NYC at www.talkradio.nyc. Now broadcasting 24 hours a day.
Nonprofits need connections to move in good directions. So cut through all the static. Join Tommy in his attic.
Who else in the world has the word attic? I mean, in the theme song to the show. I mean, I know there's that song, Toys in the Attic, Tommy in the Attic. I don't know. What are we talking about? All right, listen, in a world where growing up right now, I think is more challenging than ever. We need mentorship. We need guideposts. We need boundaries, and I will tell you, in a two-parent household where we are raising 4 children, it is challenging as heck when you're both involved in the situation. So, it's whether it be what we're dealing with devices and social media and the challenges there, this terrifying, not petrifying, but terrifying situation when we think about fentanyl and other challenges in our society, and just the sheer fact that it's difficult growing up, man. It's tough being a young person. And it's funny. I hadn't even thought about saying this, but happened to be watching The Breakfast Club last night, the old movie The Breakfast Club, and it was on Netflix, and didn't plan on watching it, but my daughter, my 13-year-old, comes down and she sits down, and I said, I guess we're going to watch this together. And what an interesting movie to reflect on, Mark, because there's no technology. They're in the library. The movie was made in 1985. It was set in 1984 because as it opens up, it says it was a Saturday morning in 1984, the whole thing. And I was born in 78. So it's interesting to reflect on that. And you know what my daughter said, and I didn't even plan on saying this, but she said, it was easier for you guys when you were younger. It was better. I wish I grew up when you grew up. And I said, wow, isn't that interesting? You think with all the stuff that we have, the access, the phone, the whole thing. Now, look, granted, this is a child that I have to battle to get the phone away from, right? Let's be honest here.
All of them.
Right. But is reminiscing on, would have rather, been, in the Breakfast Club era. But it's interesting. Like, there's so much coming at these young people. And, I was just in a meeting last week with the North Shore CASA, the North Shore Coalition Against Substance Abuse here where I live up in, North Shore, Long Island, Nassau County. And we constantly have to have these conversations and be reminded. But I bring that all up just to say, Big Brothers Big Sisters, and I'm reading this, makes meaningful, professionally supported matches between adult volunteers, as they call bigs, and children, littles. The children are aged 7 through 19 here in Nassau and Suffolk County, and they develop these positive relationships that have a direct and lasting effect on the lives of these young people. Some of these young people come from single parent homes, some come from 2-parent homes, but as you, as we probably know right now, man, very few families have one parent working. You know, most have 2 parents working, and somebody might have a side hustle on top of that, you know? So it's just like how it has to go. And, you know, like you said, Mark, you reflected on your mom, how to work a couple jobs. I mean, I remember, you know, both my parents working my whole life, you know, and we were whatever, middle class, maybe, you know, lower, upper, lower, upper, like we sort of fluctuated. I think,
Right.
you know, I don't think we were ever like, quote unquote, like, it's funny because I said to my mom one time, like maybe 20 years ago, do you remember when we were poor? And she goes, we were never poor. And I think we were overextended a lot, though. I remember being super overextended, you know, which is that keeping up with the Joneses, whatever, you know, it's just like, my point is, many homes have to have 2 parents working. And if you are in a single parent home, it's even more challenging to be around for your children. So, let's reflect on that, Mark. Let's talk about that and some of, you know, the young people that are getting these mentoring opportunities in these relationships. And, you know, just let's go into that. Let's converse about that.
Yeah, I think the best way to explain to everybody is, you know, every child in our program, they don't look the same. They really don't. And, you know, getting even back in my childhood, you know, every parent or guardian, they're doing the best they can and to provide all the support they can for the kids. But sometimes there's all external factors that just impact the impact that they can have on their own child and the time that they can spend with them. You just elaborated on a lot of that. And that's really what the Big Brothers program is designed to do, is to help children who are coming from those households to be able to do that. And you know, as you can imagine, you know, on Long Island, it's a very high cost of living. You know, parents, especially single parents, they're struggling to make ends meet and just to survive. And you know, they enroll their children into our program because they need that additional emotional support and you know, mentoring guidance for their child, because they just don't have the time to be able to do it on their own. And that's really what we're all about. And you know, a lot of the kids come, you know, from our program come, you know, from, you know, underprivileged communities. There's no question. And it's our job as a charity, like all the charities that you bring on your show, you know, that's our job. We're here to help communities.
Yeah, you know, they say, and I heard somebody say this last night when I was at this event, the casino event for Variety, and said, you know, it takes a village. Somebody on the microphone said it takes a village. And, you know, that's was like a throwaway line, I think, cliche for a lot of ways, but it really, you know, that goes back to reflect upon when the neighborhood looked at, and I feel we have a great community where I live, and, you know, I can't grab this kid. Can you grab this kid? Can you get the baseball? Can you do this? And, you know, there's like we have a really good unit of folks, you know, rippling in my community because I got 4 kids. So that's 4 sets of sports and relationships and all this stuff. But I think we have to be that way, Mark. And I think organizations and charities like yours are part of that holistic community village to raise these young people.
Yep, there's no doubt. And what's great about, particularly, and I'm sure it's everywhere, but I know on Long Island, all of the charities are connected to one another and use each other as resources. I mean, you were talking about at some of the events you're at, how, you know, all the CEOs know each other and talk to each other. And the main reason is because they're always trying to refer resources to support the families that are in their programs.
Yeah, I mean, and that's what maybe, like, to your point, maybe that goes on everywhere, but I think Long Island is certainly strong in that regard. You know, when I'm there, I don't even think we said it on the show, but I think I said it to you this morning earlier, but when I run into Janet Koch, who's the CEO last night of Variety, and I also run into a friend of ours who's been on the show, David Nimiroff, who's the CEO of Harmony Healthcare, and we're joking, and they go back like 30 years together, like coming up in this space in nonprofit. And I had said to them, hey, this is kind of like a preview, everybody, because we're going to do this. And I was like, there's a panel discussion here of people who are now leading organizations who 30, 25, 26 years ago were not leading organizations. But so I think it gives a nice trajectory and evolution of what somebody coming in, even if they, maybe they come in on the social work side, maybe they come in with their LCSW or their Masters of Social Work or whatever the situation is. And then eventually they're running organizations. I think of my friend Yolanda Rabano Gross. We've developed such a great relationship. She's out at Options for Community Living. She's probably listening right now. She's the second biggest fan, I think, right behind me. Like, it's like Tommy D fan list, like Tommy D and then Yolanda. It's like it shakes out. But it's that for me is kind of what's so important is we all have our zones or our lanes of expertise, and it's like, how do we best leverage each other from a resource perspective and from a relationship perspective? I think that's a lot of what you're saying.
Yep.
Yeah,
there's no doubt. And obviously ever since COVID, I mean, it's the communities need more support in so many different areas. It's even more important that we're all collaborating together and finding ways to help one another.
Yeah, so 100%. I mean, we don't need to spend too much time on COVID, but I will tell you, early on in COVID, I reached out to you and you were so, helpful with me. We did like a fireside chat. I was like, Mark, it was you, it was Renee Daniel Flagler, it was a couple of the leaders, and we just jumped on a Zoom meeting, and it was for other nonprofits. And it was just to say, look, we're all in this thing together. We could be a resource. Here's some best practices. I remember that was certainly early pandemic stuff. So let's walk through what kind of the look and feel of being either a volunteer of the organization, a board member of the organization, staff. Like, what is the day in the life of Big Brothers Big Sisters of Long Island? What's that all about?
All right. So I definitely want to start with what a volunteer looks like and what the commitment is, because quite honestly, right now, if I can get one message across on this show, is we need more mentors, particularly male mentors. And I think there's definitely a misconception of what the commitment is to be a mentor for an organization like Big Brothers Big Sisters. Obviously, I think you touched on it a little bit, but we service children from the community. They're from the ages of 7, and we will enroll them up to 16, and then we will keep them in our program if we feel that they need to stay in up to 21. This and that changed a couple of years ago nationally. The national office made a decision to change, and I think it was the feedback from all the CEOs throughout the country saying, hey, listen, when they graduate high school, these children, those next 2 years are probably the most crucial years in their lives. And in the past, when they graduated high school, they would kind of be, formally closing their out of the program. And again, these relationships, they last, so many of them last a lifetime.
Right. So whether or not, let's just say, air quotes, the organization is continuing to support and nurture that relationship, you didn't say you guys can't be friends anymore.
Right. And the key word you just said is support.
Right.
So our job as an organization, when these matches are made and a big is paired with a little, we professionally support them with social workers who are giving them guidance, ideas on ways to help the big work with the child to reach their goals that they had set when they first joined the organization, with the input from the child as well as the guardian of that child. They come in and they set goals right when they first start. And then our staff are the ones that are working with them on a monthly and then eventually quarterly basis to do that. And what would happen in the past is because of, financial reasons and budgets and, staff costs money. The more kids you serve, the more staff you need. So what was happening nationally in the model, when they child graduated high school, they would officially have a closure meeting, make sure everything was good. But that relationship would continue forever on many occasions, but it would not be under the supervision of us anymore. And what that does is it allows us to match another child.
Right on. Yep.
But I think it's a great thing that they changed it or extended it to go, until they're up to 21 years, because those years are crucial. But to get back to what a volunteer looks like. So Big Brothers Big Sisters, we pretty much, a volunteer needs to be 18 years or older, have a valid driver's license. That's the first requirement, because they are going to have to pick up the child to be able to go do activities with them. What we look for is, the most important thing is a 1-year commitment time period. And the reason is, these children that join the program, they've had so many things come and go and leave their lives and failures, and they need consistency. So we really ask from our volunteers a minimum of a 1-year commitment. And then really it's about getting together twice a month with the child. We don't set an exact number of hours. It's these children need the consistency of a role model to be there for them and just hang out and talk. And one of the things we do, when volunteers join, we recommend to them all low cost or no cost activities, because it's not about the money you're spending on the child and what you're giving them. It's about being there with them so they'll eventually open up when they get comfortable with you and talk about things, challenges that they have in their lives. And for the volunteer, it's an opportunity for you to expose these children to things that they don't even know are out there because they've never been exposed to them. And that's really what it is to be a volunteer for our organization.
Yeah, I think, so a couple of things I want to just underscore. You're talking about trust. You're talking about building trust with this young person who's maybe been disappointed in a lot of ways through their life, even if they're, 8, 10, 12 years old, they've had some disappointment, and they're not obviously not getting the support. That's why they're part of the program. And, and it sounds like from that is developing that trust. But the other part I'm hearing too, Mark, is, I think maybe the misconception, I think that's what we're trying to overcome from this, is that this is a real heavy lift. This is like, how much time do I need to, let's be honest, why are you not getting more men volunteering, and women as well? But I always know historically, and we've talked about it just now, is that male mentors is more challenging. And it's probably because, like, dude, I just don't have that kind of time, right? But what is that? So if you want to be a part of your community gang, you want to help out, you do have, 5 hours a month we're talking about, to grab a kid, get a sandwich, get a hot dog, whatever, maybe go throw the ball around. It's not, you don't gotta go to Citi Field. You certainly don't have to go up to the Bronx for a Yankee game. That's a nightmare, not just because it's the Yankees, but also because it's a pain in the ass, excuse my language, to get up there. But it's about, it's just about being there, building and developing a relationship, developing rapport, right, Mark? That's what you're saying?
Yep. Yeah, and our staff and our organization, we work very hard with the volunteers to come up with ideas of things to do with the children. We host probably close to 50 events a year at our facilities, game nights, paint nights. We have 2 in both our buildings, one in Westbury and one in Islandia location. We have 2 activity centers that have game stations, they have ping pong, they have arts and crafts.
You're making it. We're gonna go to break in a sec, gang. We're gonna with Mark Cox and Tommy.
We try to make it as easy as possible.
No, it's not even so, gang. There really are no objections. Like, we're not even saying, you have to go somewhere to do the thing. You'll host the opportunity, Mark, right?
Yep.
All right.
Absolutely.
We're going to split for a second. We're going to take a quick break. The show's Philanthropy and Focus. Your boy is called the Nonprofit Sector Connector. I don't know why. I just made that name up one day, and now it's stuck, and now people introduce me that way. I mean, and it's gonna stick forever. The organization is Big Brothers Big Sisters of Long Island. We'll take a quick break. We'll be right back. Mark, when we come back, I want to talk really about kind of the social enterprise, Restore, the things at the store, that's really become a major fundraiser for the organization, and a little bit more into what it's like to be a volunteer. Philanthropy and Focus, right?
Are you a business owner? Do you want to be a business owner? Do you work with business owners? Hi, I'm Stephen Fry, your small and medium-sized business, or SMB guy, and I'm the host of the new show, Always Friday. While I love to have fun on my show, we take those Friday feelings of freedom and clarity to discuss popular topics on the minds of SMBs today. Please join me and my various special guests on Friday at 11 a.m. on talkradio.nyc.
Are you a conscious co-creator? Are you on a quest to raise your vibration and your consciousness? I'm Sam Leibowitz, your conscious consultant, and on my show, The Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity, we will touch upon all these topics and more. Listen live at our new time on Thursdays at 12 noon Eastern Time. That's The Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity, Thursdays, 12 noon on talkradio.nyc.
What really drives success in business? Introducing Intangify, the show that explores the intangible assets that create value and growth. I'm Matthew Asbell, your host and an attorney focused on innovation. Join me Fridays at noon Eastern to discover how innovation, culture, and other intangibles shape thriving companies from startups to established businesses. We'll share strategies to unleash your business's true potential. Tune in live on talkradio.nyc Fridays at noon Eastern and Intangify your business today.
You're listening to Talk Radio NYC. Uplift, educate, empower.
Nonprofits need connections to move in good directions. So cut through all the static. Join Tommy in his attic.
Yes. No, don't join me in my attic. That's like it's like a song, like virtually join me in the attic. There's just not enough room for all of us up here. All right, so Mark, let's talk about, before we go into the store, your store, I misspoke. Thank you, by the way. I said restore. I'm thinking Habitat for Humanity, Long Island. Just so what happens when you're the nonprofit sector connector. There's a lot of stuff in your head. So I want to talk about the store that you guys have, donations, and I pulled it up on the website and stuff. But before we do that, we just talked about volunteers, and I want to know how they can volunteer, meaning to be a big. And then I'll ask another question after that. But just who do they connect with on your team? Is it you? How do they get in the system?
So without a doubt, the easiest and best way is to visit our website, bbbsli.org. And right from there, you can click to find out more about becoming a mentor, a lot of the stuff that we've talked about. And at the same time, you can basically sign up or inquire, and then someone will reach out to you, talk a little bit more about, kind of a little bit what we went through very quickly, answer any questions that you have. And then if you're still interested in moving forward, they would schedule for an interview and have you come in, and you'd go through an interview with us. And then if you're accepted, then, we put on a waiting list and then eventually match with a child. And
I love it too. This is great because it's sort of a day in the life. You have some stories, meet little Sebastian and Big Tom, and you see their story. And if you click here, I'm sharing this on Facebook. So if you're not watching, gang, you're just listening, go to bbsli.org. But if you are watching, well, then you'll see what I'm doing right now. And this just talks about some of these relationships. And man, oh man, what isn't this what we all need is a connection, relationships. We talk about things like mental health issues on this show a lot. We talk about addiction. We talk about these challenges. And, I think a major thing from a mental health perspective or from an addiction perspective is we need connection. That is the antidote to these challenges. We just need freaking people. And, if anybody can relate to that, certainly with COVID, I can, because it was that sort of that disconnect with the outside world. I mean, Mark, I don't know about you, man, but I never thought I'd get another hug in my life outside of the people who live in my house with me. But now I'm doing all right. I'm getting my hugs. My hug game is strong again because, I need that interaction. I certainly need that connection with people. And I think we all at some level, not everybody's a hugger, but I have a friend of mine, Mark, when she, you're a Long Island guy, right? I mean, you grew up here? No, I actually grew up in Massachusetts, but I've been here since 88. All right. So you can maybe reflect on what I'm about to say. So, all right, look, I don't know what it is, but we kiss each other on the cheeks. That's what we do here. You grab each other, you grab for a hug, and you do a kiss. And it's not necessarily men, but certainly always kiss my uncles on the cheek, the whole thing, right? That was an adjustment coming from wasn't it right? So from Maryland, right? So if Mark, and I run into, a female colleague at an event, it's a hug and a kiss on the cheek. And it's funny, like my friend she's actually from Maryland, and she goes, dude, when I first got to Long Island, I was like, what is this thing like with everybody kissing each other on the cheek? And it's a thing. It's a Long Island thing. I'm sure it goes on other places. It's not Europe. I'm not kissing on one cheek, on the other cheek. We're not like that. And it's funny, like I've taken that and I've thought about that a lot, especially after COVID. So I don't know who gets a hug, who gets a kiss on the cheek anymore. I've asked people, hey, can I give you a hug? Are we hugging yet? Are we there? Are we back? So anyway, that's a long roundabout way to say it's important for connection. It's important for relationships. So I want to talk about your store, the organization's store that takes donations to really use that for fundraising and what that looks like.
Yeah, so I wanted to touch back one thing on the volunteer and recruitment area. Just, I know you have a lot of listeners, and being able to volunteer your time and be a big is not for everybody. And sometimes, for someone like you that has 4 children right now, you wouldn't be a candidate to be a big, because our social workers, after they interviewed you, would probably say, hey, listen, now's not a good time. You may think you can do it, but the biggest thing that we don't ever want to have happen is you have great intentions, you sign up, and then after 3 months, you go, man, this is a lot. I just can't do it. To the child that you were being a big to, that could be devastating.
Rejection, right? Oh,
yeah. So, but one of the things that we ask a lot of people is, if it's not right for you, and particularly the audience that listens, anybody that's listening to your show, they without a doubt have a philanthropic mind. They want to help, in any way they can to make the world better. If you are part of a church, Rotary Club, or you work at a company that has the ability to allow me or my team to come in and just talk about what we're talking about on the show, and we can curtail it to a 10-minute presentation up to an hour presentation of what it is. But one of the biggest things that we're trying to do a lot more of is get in front of larger audiences. And if you're able to speak to 20 people, the chances are you may get 2 volunteers out of that.
Yeah.
And we're trying to do a lot more of that, because again, like I said, becoming a big's not for everybody, and the timing's not right for everybody, but everybody has connections in their networks
100%.
and could help make introductions. And that's how we're going to really get
I
more
love that.
volunteers.
I want to find ways where I could be additive to that, because it's funny. You're right. And so I got to shout out to my buddy Bert Lurch, who's on your board. Bert's been a great friend, and I appreciate him. And I've always said to him, dude, one day I'm going to be a big, but like, I can't swing that now. Like, and I know that, like, I have some self-awareness, Mark, but like, that's not a fit for me now. But that being said, if you do have a social or anything coming up, I want to bring Italian ices. Like tomorrow, my dad owns Ralph's Italian Ices out in Huntington, and
Nice.
tomorrow I'm going out to scoop ices for an organization called Operation Vest. They're doing their 5K. It's VEST stands for Veterans Ending Suicide Together. Really, really important organization. There'll be a whole bunch of nonprofits there. I'm going to be out there scooping Italian ices for my 50th day of service. 60 days of service I'm on this trip for. And I'd love to do, when you guys have a social, a barbecue, whether it be for staff or for participants, happy to do that. But, from a perspective of, just getting other volunteering relationships, I don't want to be obnoxious with what I'm about to say, but like with a bunch of million people living on this island, I think it's only a situation of access, not necessarily lack of interest in being part of this. I think it was really just getting these access points. You say church, synagogue, your community organization. We're at the Rotary, right? Kiwanis, the Lions Club.
Quite honestly, anything.
Yeah, but those organizations, those specifically, are community minded, civic focused, the whole deal. Those are the ones I want to talk to you about. Some kind of initiative. Maybe I could be additive to that and just helping get the word out on that piece as well. So I do want to get into this piece about the store, because I think it's very educational for other nonprofit leaders to think in terms of other ways to fundraise. Just give me, before we do that, because we'll take a break, we'll come talk about the store and upcoming events when we come back. But like, other volunteers that you might need right now. So maybe this isn't the right fit for me, but you might need, we always talk in our space, time, treasure, talent, right? Is there something specific that you think somebody could plug into from a volunteer perspective, that they could support the organization in some other way?
Yeah, I think for us, the main, our model is the one-to-one mentoring. We have a very strong staff, and most of the events we do, we don't really require or have the need for volunteers. We do have a new program called Rise Up that we're doing, where we do a lot of, it's basically geared towards helping prepare the children in our program for when they graduate from high school, whether it's going to be, continued education, employment opportunities, or maybe they're going to enroll, in one of the armed services organization,
or trade school or organization.
Yep, trade school. And so what we've been doing is we have entrepreneurship nights where we're always looking for people to come. We recently, about 2 weeks ago, we had a mock interview night where we brought in all the kids from our, high school age, and we had different representatives from different companies. That's where we could use volunteers at times.
Yeah.
And they basically put them through interviews, and then they would talk to them at post-interview on ways they can get better, making sure a firm handshake, making sure they're making eye contact the whole time.
Some of these young people don't even know what eye contact is.
Yeah.
We certainly have to teach them that.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's really special. I mean, we're never going to cover everything on this show, but we try to get as much as we can in. All right. So we're going to take our final break. When we come back, Mark, I want to hear about the store. I want to hear about events that are upcoming and fundraisers in any way, aside from us bringing you relationships that you think might be additive and helpful. Okay.
Right.
All right. We'll be right back. Philanthropy and Focus.
Are you passionate about the conversation around racism? Hi, I'm Reverend Dr. TLC, host of the Dismantle Racism Show, which airs every Thursday at 11 a.m. Eastern on talkradio.nyc. Join me and my amazing guests as we discuss ways to uncover, dismantle, and eradicate racism. That's Thursdays at 11 o'clock a.m. on talkradio.nyc.
In a post-COVID world, you may have many unanswered questions regarding your health. Are you looking to live a healthier lifestyle? Do you have a desire to learn more about mental health and enhance your quality of life? Or do you just want to participate in self-understanding and awareness? I'm Frank R. Harrison, host of Frank About Health, and each Thursday, I will tackle these questions and work to enlighten you. Tune in every Thursday at 5 p.m. on talkradio.nyc, and I will be frank about health to advocate for all of us.
Hey everybody, it's Tommy D, the nonprofit sector connector, coming at you from my attic. Each week here on talkradio.nyc, I host the program Philanthropy and Focus. Nonprofits impact us each and every day, and it's my focus to help them amplify their message and tell their story. Listen each week at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time until 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time right here on talkradio.nyc.
You're listening to Talk Radio NYC at www.talkradio.nyc. Now broadcasting 24 hours a day.
Nonprofits need connections to move in good directions. So cut through all the static. Join Tommy in his attic.
Mark, you probably don't know this about me because we never talked about it, but you know what I wanted to be when I grow up, or what I used to want to be when I grew up, or what I still want to be when I do, if I ever do grow up? It's a game show host. This is the lightning round. This is the lightning round. This is our last shot to get it all out there. As a former ball player, let's leave it out on the field, right? Let's leave it all out there. Let's make sure, the development team doesn't say, Mark, why didn't you say that? Or why didn't you say that? Tell us about the store, and then tell us how we can help and anything that's upcoming, please.
Yep. So, as you can imagine, fundraising is a major part of any not-for-profit organization, particularly one that, the goal for us and me as the leader is, we want to serve more children. And as I indicated earlier in the program, the more children you serve, the more staff and support that you need. And in order to do that, the more money that you need. We're like many other organizations where we, run the gamut of the fundraising events. Our annual budget for the agency is about right around $3 million. We have a staff of 26 right now. We are growing back from COVID, which is great. And as you can imagine, just like every other organization, we have your golf outing, we have a gala, we do some unique things. We've done some poker tournaments. Right now, we're currently raffling off a 26-foot Parker boat. So
Really?
we're selling 1,500 tickets. It's on our website at $100 a piece. And one lucky winner in September at the drawing is going to win a brand new boat. And we've done that probably for the last 10 years now.
It's pretty cool, man. That's a big deal. That's no joke.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And, we have, like I said, the galas and all that. But I think what sets us apart from other organizations, what you kind of alluded to a little earlier, is my predecessor, a gentleman named William Tiemann, who was the CEO for our organization for 34 years before me. He had an unbelievable idea a little over 20, I think it's probably 24 years ago. He was up in Boston. he saw this used clothing collection operation that a charity was doing, and he was amazed by it, and he said, you know what, we got to bring this to Long Island. And he really worked hard, a lot with a lot of board support, and they basically created this used clothing and household good collection operation. And I won't get into the details but it is a separate not-for-profit that I oversee as well. And it's more insurance reasons, but when it was created as a not-for-profit, the sole purpose of it is to generate revenue to support the mentoring agency. So in reality, it's a line item over to the $3 million budget to support the agency. But what it is just a unique way to help make sure that the organization is sustainable for years to come. And what's really been great too is, it's amazing. So many people, they care, they want to donate clothing. It's great because as a not-for-profit, they get a tax deduction within the tax laws of, making that donation. So what we actually do is we partner with probably 30 or 40 other not-for-profits where we'll place clothing bin collections at their not-for-profit, and then we'll pay them some money for that. So we're helping them raise some money for their organization as well. So it's kind of a win-win. We don't just so you know, you alluded to a store.
Yeah.
We don't own a store.
Okay.
So we have, and you can get this on our website, but we have a partnership relationship with a thrift company called Savers.
Savers. Right.
They're they're in US and Canada. Their model is they partner in communities with local not-for-profits. The not-for-profits collect the donations because that's where the donor can get the tax deduction, but Savers signs contracts and guarantees to purchase the product from the not-for-profit. What's great is they have 4 stores on Long Island, one in West Hempstead, one in Holbrook, one in Comac, and one in Medford. And if you ever went into these stores, the best way to describe it, they're like a TJ Maxx. You walk in, they have all the different, the sections by, men's, women's, shoes, books, DVDs, household items, and people go in there and shop. And that's, obviously Savers is a profit company, but they buy all that product that's in particularly the Long Island stores, all comes from us at Big Brothers Big Sister.
I love that. And I have been in the store in West Hempstead. I grew up in Franklin Square, not too far from where that store is, so I know it well. And I love to go in stores like that. I love, you could find like really cool stuff and and what's old is new again. And thank you for the correction. I had this all screwed up, but in my mind, because there are those stores. Those are the destination. You're the supplier. Your organization is the supplier, the collection, and the supplier of product.
Yeah. And honestly, if we did not have that operation, we would not be able to serve as many kids that we have and grow our staff as much as we have to be able to serve those kids.
Yeah.
And then, like I said, in addition, we do have fundraising events throughout the year. On July 13th, I know I want to make a couple plugs.
Yeah, let's do it.
We have a Swing Big event, which is it's kind of a networking event, but it is a fundraiser at Top Golf out in Holbrook on July 13th. That's on our website as well. I had mentioned the boat raffle that we're doing. And then we have a walk coming up in September. We had done walks we took kind of like a 10-year hiatus, and we want to bring the walk back because quite honestly, it's a great way to engage the community. Yeah. It's also one of the few fundraising events that we can get our matches to participate in. And, it's pretty cool because a lot of our matches will set up their peer-to-peer fundraising page. And it's an opportunity for the big to teach the little how important it is to to give back to the community. Even though they're in our program, they're getting how important it is to basically raise money for the program as well.
What a great way to bring these young people through philanthropy and get them to understand what it's like. How better than to fundraise and give back and pay it forward to the program that supported you. I mean, this is just no-brainer type stuff. I love that. Where is the walk in September?
The walk's going to be at Eisenhower Park.
Love it. Right, centrally located. I know very, very well. What are your goals, expectations for an event like that? How many people you think you get out?
I mean, again, we're partnering with another not-for-profit, which is kind of the norm. So we have a great relationship with LICAB, Long Island Coalition Against Bullying.
Joe Salamone has been on this show. I love Joe Salamone. Great.
So we have a lot of synergy with him, and he helps us with in high schools and does some seminars on bullying and bully prevention, particularly for our volunteers and for our families to get a better understanding of the challenges of bullying. So what we decided to do is he has a walk that he did last year at Eisenhower Park, and we approached him and said, hey, listen, let's do it together. And, you share the expenses, but you can, bring in two different audiences, and both our missions are definitely complementary to each other. So it was a no-brainer. Both boards agreed on it.
That makes
we're excited about that.
I'm excited about it too. What's September? What, you have the date on it?
You know what? I don't have the date in front of me. It is on our website.
All right, we will get you that, gang. But just go to the website for Big Brothers Big Sisters of Long Island. Mark, call it out, but I'll call it out. BBBSLI.org. BBBSLI.org. Right.
Yep. And if you're interested, obviously we're on all the social media channels: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter.
Yeah.
LinkedIn, everything. And it's at BBBSLI, are all those handles, so to say.
Yeah, at BBBS.
And those are all on the bottom of our website as well. And
I'm looking
again, the more followers we get, the more of our content gets out in front of, your friends.
100%. Listen, gang, if you want to support this organization, sometimes it's as simple as bringing your network to this organization. All right. Mark, I appreciate you. I appreciate your friendship. I'm glad you're on the show today. Thanks for being flexible, making some movement to get this happening for this morning. Everybody else out there, I appreciate you paying attention to what I'm doing, because this is my journey. This is my mission to help you find out about these nonprofit organizations and the great work they're doing. Every single Friday morning, your boy goes all the way up to the attic to do the show Philanthropy and Focus. Make it a great day. Make it a great weekend, everybody. We'll see you next week. Mark, thanks again. I appreciate you, man.
Tommy, thanks for having me, and thanks for promoting charities on Long Island.
I appreciate you, man. Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Nonprofits need connections to move in good directions. So cut through all the static. Join Tommy in his attic.
You're listening to Talk Radio.